Mark Goldbridge has become one of the most viewed football pundits on social media, amassing 4 million subscribers and over 1.9 billion views. But being a Man United fan, Mark has built his entire career off his own club, and has arguably divided the entire fan base and changing room simultaneously from time to time. So how has a bloke in his bedroom, sitting in front of a green screen, created one of the biggest football platforms on social media, and become United's Devil of the United Stand? On the 7th of April 1979, Mark was born in Nottingham. His first exposure to football was going to the City ground with his dad to watch Nottingham Forrest matches, who at the time were a major power within English football. When he was just 6 years old, his parents divorced, uprooting his life completely. From there, he started living with his mother and her family, creating an environment where Mark's grandfather could infect him with his love for Manchester United and ultimately put him on a path that would later define his career. During his early professional career, Goldbridge moved to Ireland to work in insurance. It was during this time that he met his wife at the age of 20 and went on to get married with kids 8 years later. But by his mid-20s, Goldbridge moved back to England to start looking for employment. Unfortunately, his options were a lot more limited than he had thought.
I couldn't get a job anywhere, and my wife, who's actually been, I must give her a shout out. She said, "Why don't you go in the police?" And I went, "Ha! We're my family. See you next week." And then it's sort of over in a few weeks, I just was like, actually, this might be the only thing I can do, because I wanted to do the fire service, but I'm not very good with heat, so I was like...
As stated, Mark wanted to work in the fire department, but in his own words, he wasn't very good at dealing with heat. Of course, he's gotten a whole lot better at that ever since starting his online career, but deciding the police force was the route he was going to take, he didn't want to become a traditional plod, but a detective instead. However, as one can imagine, the job came with a whole number of drawbacks.
You've got to be cynical, because you're going to see things like, I remember when I saw my first dead body, and it's like, I was like... and the smell was horrible, and it was not very nice. And then
where was that?
It was in a tower block in Birmingham, and he'd been in there for about.
You say the
2
statement.
weeks.
I remember when I saw my first dead body. That implies you've seen more than one.
Yeah. Well, I think when you work in that sort of work, you do. Yeah. So
how many do you reckon you've seen?
Well over 10. Yeah, well over 10.
Seeking an alternative path to interacting with literal rotting corpses, Mark transitioned into investigating financial fraud in the private sector. However, still envisioning a career outside the pig factory and spreadsheets, he wanted to start a YouTube channel, but due to the nature of his job at the time, he was advised by the police to use an alias.
When I started on YouTube, my job would not have allowed me to use my real name.
Okay.
Hence the name was created.
Secret agent.
End of
Finally, we can let that out the bag.
Yeah.
What's the inspiration behind Brent the Cesar?
A real name.
Is it real?
Right.
Yeah.
What?
Your real name is Brent de Cesar?
Yeah.
What? Why on
Brent
earth are you
Mew.
calling yourself Mark Goldbridge? That's way better.
This is, where's, what family name is that? Where's that from?
It's an Italian name. To be honest with you, if we're starting again, I would have it.
So where did Mark Goldbridge
But I
come
couldn't
from?
use it.
So with Brent's name successfully hidden behind the mask of Mark Goldbridge, he set up a YouTube channel on the 7th of August 2014, titled Soccerbox TV. He got the idea for the channel after going on holiday to Mallorca, where he was lying on a lie-low in the pool and thought about the time he spends in forums straight after Man United games, venting out his frustration and waiting for other people's replies. He stated, "Initially, it started off as more of a generic thing, just talking about weekly Premier League predictions. Then I did a couple of Man United reactions and they were getting a lot more interaction than the generic thing. This increase in traction resulted in Mark changing the channel name to the United Stand and becoming solely focused on United. Mark didn't initially find viral success though. His early videos revolved around match predictions, previews, transfer speculations and opinions from other fans. However, on the 4th of July 2016, just 2 years into his YouTube career, he posted a video titled Jose Mourinho's Top 5 Man United Transfers, discussing transfers Mourinho was likely to make during his first transfer window. This video managed to get 200,000 views, the most his channel had seen at the time. While obviously confident that his channel could become a career, this gave gave him the real world proof that what he envisioned could be possible. A month after the Jose video was posted, Mark launched a second channel titled That's Football, which would focus on general football content and watch-alongs of non-Manchester United matches on Twitch. This way, even if That's Football failed to gain an audience, it would have zero negative impact on Mark's main source of income. Alongside these matchday watch-alongs, Mark would also expand into FIFA gameplay streams. It was these live streams that cultivated a comedy character that would soon take over the football meme universe. Mark's one-liners and analogies often got clipped up, becoming the subject of virality, eventually being associated as the Alan Partridge or David Brent of the football commentary world. With Mark's personality intertwining with the meme zeitgeist and football community, it naturally brought a lot of eyeballs to both channels. And as the United Stand and That's Football began to flesh themselves out, Mark began hiring social media talent to discuss results outside Old Trafford after games, to get fans' immediate reactions and create content for the United Stand's platforms. It was during this time period where YouTube was littered with football fan channels, from AFTV to Redmen TV to the United Stand's direct competitor, Full-Time Devils. For a lot of these channels, it was easy to print views by sending a camera crew outside the stadium after a loss and getting someone with a squeaky voice to scream down the camera.
Like, we weren't even doing fan cams, and it was just like, you're looking at those numbers and you're going, just get some sort of camera outside Old Trafford and interview someone. And it wasn't even for like, get them to say something stupid. It was literally just get a camera outside there and do it.
That happens a lot online. People see, people do, and they go, we could probably sell this. We can get people to click on this because it looks similar to AFTV or it looks similar to whatever else is big out there. Fairly cheap to do.
But it's interesting because, look, people, this is the start of the football thing. And I came into it around 2014 and I was like, oh, there's all these other outlets, which I wasn't aware of. Interesting story. I found out that these were all owned by Fremantle. And I was like, this ain't fan content. You had your fan cams at the start, and you also had a lot of 10-minute well-edited content. That's what people were doing. And I couldn't do that. I didn't have this ability to do that. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go live for 20 minutes and do a match reaction in my bedroom or whatever it was I was using. And it's interesting. And then I started doing watch-alongs. You fast forward years, and everybody does live content now for many reasons. So that was really interesting as well. And it sort of changed how we did things and took it away from, I think what Fremantle were doing was, this is fan content behind a TV company. And there was definitely an umbrella. I mean, I came in and I was like, maybe we could do something with Redmen. No, we do it with Full-Time Devils. Oh, maybe I can do something with AFTV. No, we do it with Redmen. And it was like a real closed shop. And I was like, again, this is not fan content.
Within each of these channels existed members or personalities who were trying to build their own socials and careers within the ecosystem, which often resulted in public dismissals or drama. Over the years, Mark had as many as 10 different personalities presenting and working for the United Stand at different points of the channel's lifespan. One of the biggest dramas surrounding the United Stand occurred with content creator Rants, who accused Mark of having racial bias towards Luke Shaw after leaving the United Stand to focus on his own content.
Just bias, yeah, which comes from your racism, why you think that he played well. You know them ones there. So that's what I mean. When Mark thinks that Luke Shaw, he's got this unconscious bias here towards Luke Shaw because Luke Shaw's white, bruv. He does have that unconscious bias towards him, bruv, because Luke Shaw's rubbish, bro.
In another podcast clip, Rants and Saeed, who are both prominent presenters within the fan cam era of the channel, continued to feel disgruntled after splitting ways with Goldbridge. Essentially, they believed that they were the reason why the United Stand was the success it became.
It's what separated all these fan channels, bro. Without us, yeah, and the culture we brought to these fan channels, I don't think these guys would survive, bro. Remember when me and you were coming on, bro? When did you come on? Like, maybe was it 100k, 150k? I came on 200k, bro. Yeah. Elevated it to the next level, bro. The fan camps were what really set it alight, bro. And we brought the culture and the film, and then you get shot on, bro. That's what happens, innit?
You know what's so funny? You get these little neeks that are like, oh yeah, like Rants this and Rants that, bro. When I was on there, bro, man was getting 100k on a fan cam, yeah. When the channel wasn't even as big as it is now, bro, and on shitty games as well. Man was getting 100k fan cams against Fulham away and that, bro. Like, man are going on like, man weren't watching, man. Are you skunked? Look what my channel's doing. Look at the engagement, bro. Like, my channel's averaging 1.5 million views a month, bro. The thing is, the equity that man put into there, you can't take it out because it's not tangible. Bear man will say, oh yeah, what did you actually do and that, but bruv, like, what, 150 to 850? I left on 850. 700 subs, bro. Like, all the work that man put in behind
We did the groundwork. We did the groundwork, bro.
All the work that every man puts in behind the scenes, bro. Do you know what I mean? And man just think that me and Flex just turned on the camera and then and when the camera was off, we weren't working.
Goldbridge responded to these statements made by the former employees during a live stream of his That's Football channel.
Gene says that's your record view on the channel, and I know, and it's funny, isn't it? Because it was just me on my own again. You know, apparently, you know, apparently United stands big because of everybody else. It's nothing to do with me. You know, I'm just a dictator. It's got nothing to do with me, you know.
One online commenter stated, Mark Goldbridge is the sole reason why the United stand is so big now. Look at the highest viewed videos. They're all watch-alongs. On the 29th of September 2024, years after this beef, tensions flared up once again after a 3-0 loss to Spurs. In response to this game, Mark Goldbridge tweeted, yes, the headline will be sack the manager, but these players will remain. Nothing will change long term. Some of them have sacked 3 or 4 and remain churning out this shit. Underneath this tweet, ex-employee Saeed tweeted, shut the fuck up, followed by a video ranting about Goldbridge outside Old Trafford.
That Mark Goldfish, yeah, you fucking absolute whopper, yeah, you absolute prick you are, mate. Today, yeah, my man's tweeting about it's the same old faces. He spent 600 million, you dirty copper, mate, who's fucking coercing with that fucking, who is it again? What agency? That fucking SCG agency you're working with, and you've coerced your fucking subscribers to thinking it's all good, mate. You absolute whopper, mate. I swear down, it's personal between me and you as well. I swear down, because this guy puts absolute shit on his platform, yeah, and everyone just goes and says, you know what, whatever Mark Goldfish says, you fucking prick, mate.
Years later, during a podcast, Mark would later divulge into his experience working with people on the United stand.
Everybody has had this, you know, disintegration, fallout, people leave. And a lot of people ask me about this all the time. I thought, well, sod it, we'll do it on here because, you know, the last video did well and hopefully a lot of people will appreciate this. I mean, I lose count. There's probably up to 10 people that have left the United stand.
There's probably about 6 prominent names that have left the United stand, and probably about 10 people who've left and gone on and done other things.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious, because some of them are very big names that have left.
Every single one hurt. I think naturally people leave something, they want to leave, but then they have, a lot of them take the resentment of why they're leaving. You've made the reason to leave, you haven't communicated that reason, you've gone, and then when you go, you take resentment. That's something I don't understand, and I see it across the industry. I'm not naming any names at all. It could be AFTV, it could be the club, it could be United Stand, but they make a decision to go, don't necessarily communicate why, and I think that damages them because they obviously go for a reason, but they don't communicate the reason, and then they take the reason and feel resentment, and I think that is never a good thing because it never does you any good. My answer to anyone who's left the United Stand is, yeah, it did hurt various people, and I did learn from it. But honestly, if I'm being completely honest, the positive I take is that I think everybody should do this in life. Everything happens for a reason, but it's not that fairy nonsense. It's actually, I look at all those people who've left what I did, and I look at where they were at the start, and they weren't there. You say you gave them the chance and you created them, and people go, oh, what you're trying to say is there'd be nothing without you. Well, that's a really harsh thing to say because they've got talent, and that's why they came along in the first place. But I do look at it and I go, every single one of them, whatever they're doing, did have a talent, and at some point had a relationship with us, and are now elsewhere. And whether they want to acknowledge it or not, I personally look at it and go, well, that's a positive of the United Stand, is that all those people actually started here, and they can never change that. They did. Their initial boost in views and what they're getting now was because they were on the United Stand. That's not me. That's the United Stand community. So I have to look at it like that, and that's how I sleep at night and move on from it.
After years of grafting, building his profile up on the United Stand and That's Football, Mark was offered the 10 PM Saturday slot on Talksport, where he would take calls from fans. However, the announcement left some people confused, as Goldbridge had been vocally critical of Talksport in the past, as Twitter was quick to remind him. Goldbridge responded to these tweets stating, I'm presenting, pal. Always wanted to present a radio show. They know what I've said about the show. I still think a lot of the pundits talk crap. Don't watch if you're not interested. In April 2022, Goldbridge made his radio show debut. For Mark, it was a huge opportunity and his first step into the mainstream media. However, something Mark has always been faced with in his career is allegations of him actually being a Nottingham Forest fan. Many believe this is the case because basing his output around one of the biggest football clubs in the world has obviously helped him in terms of finding an audience. Plus, he doesn't use his real name, making people believe everything is part of the character.
I'm not a Forest fan.
Yeah.
Robbie's not a Luton fan.
No,
This is
no,
the
but if
stuff
he
that
is,
gets
I'm
thrown
just saying
about.
if he is. But it's the same. If you do Forest, if you do the Forest stand or whatever it is, whatever the stand is at Forest, you frankly aren't in that position. And
I think that's it's a great point though, because I was thinking about this only the other week. I was like, people say I'm a Forest fan because I'm from Nottingham and I went to a few games when I was a kid.
Smart.
I mean, you're going to judge kids of 8 for going to I'll go anywhere. I'll go to Solihull Moors. I'm not bothered. We're at Solihull Moors now. If I didn't support United and I supported Everton, there is a ceiling. I'd just do that. Oh, hello, I've done it anyway. That's football. Like, you can still do it. And
it would have been a different route for you.
Yeah,
and I think it would have taken you a lot longer to build That's Football if you hadn't have had a body of Manchester United fans who looked into that. That's fine. Like, it's not a hard thing to acknowledge. You worked really hard at this, and you've also shown you have great knowledge outside of just Manchester United. Not everyone can pivot from a one club thing to a multi-club thing. That's hard.
Naturally, football is a very tribal topic of conversation, so you're always going to get abuse when your opinion is in the minority. But due to having large platforms, his opinions aren't free from criticism, especially from some who actually played for Man United. In October 2023, former Manchester United defender Paul Parker stated, "I don't like what Mark Goldbridge is doing. It's a problem. Everyone has to make a living, but you have to be very, very thick-skinned to make money off the back of something you don't like. He has no relationship to Man United. He is a Nottingham Forest fan. It's an incredible skill to do that, actually, to make money off the back of something you don't like. I think this argument is a bit baseless, even if you're not a fan of his content. I don't think any sane person would spend 10 years of their life actively watching and creating content around Man United. And if they do, they're fucking insane and deserve all the accolades that come along with it." But just over 2 years presenting on Talksport, Goldbridge soon began to realise that presenting on the radio made no sense from a financial, brand growth or viewership aspect, and thus announced he would be ending his relationship with Talksport.
Lonan says, what happened with Talksport? What, with me? I did a bloody podcast on it. I didn't want to do it anymore, mate. And I'm so happy not to be doing it anymore. I felt like a hypocrite, really. So, and it was a massive waste of time. I mean, look, I was doing Talksport on a Saturday night with more than anybody else gets on YouTube on a Saturday night. I was getting like 3,000-4,000 people. I did the United stand at 8 o'clock last night and we had 18,000. I mean, it's just stupid. I don't know what I was doing, really. It made no sense financially. It made no sense growth. It made no sense quality of content. I mean, there was an advert every 10 minutes. I don't know. I just thought I had an idea of something and it just didn't work the way I wanted it to. Look, sometimes you try things and it doesn't work out, and I just didn't want to do a third year.
With Goldbridge's profile bigger than it's ever been, in 2024 he's had multiple interactions with Man United and their players, which caused a large amount of drama within the United fan base. On the 5th of February, Goldbridge interviewed Rasmus Hojlund on the United Stand channel at Carrington Training Ground. According to news sources, after the interview, several of Hojlund's teammates were reportedly to be unhappy over his decision to be interviewed by Mark, mainly because he had been critical of certain United players in the past. As a result of the interview, the United Stand received death threats warning Goldbridge and his staff, and DM'd the exact location of the United Stand studio. Goldbridge released a statement addressing the abuse, stating, "I totally understand that football is a passionate, divisive sport, and that people are free to decide and have an opinion on what content they consume. However, the pile-on of some of our staff was subject to over the weekend was incredibly sad to witness. To be threatening people's lives yet again evidences the vile pack-on mentality that exists on social media." During a podcast with Mark a few weeks after the interview, he discussed it, and how the backlash is maybe jealousy from other journalists.
So basically, we did the interview with Rasmus a few weeks ago.
That way, as far as I was concerned, that was
really
that was a
well.
big success, wasn't it?
Millions of views.
Really good.
Club did well. Player did well.
Rasmus seemed really happy.
Rasmus really happy.
Right.
We were really happy. You know, really innovative in relation to. I know Redmen again have done interviews. Other people have done interviews, but it was just very unique around our type of content, and it worked really, really well.
And also, it was big for you guys in that sense of like, it takes a long time to get through to Manchester United.
Yeah, it took months.
It takes a while. Yeah.
And then you had an article come out which basically said the players were up in outrage.
Really?
You know, Rasmus apologised for doing it, and it just made it feel like.
Was that a big outlet that said that?
No, it was a fanzine. It's a respected fanzine, and it's
Really?
a good fanzine, and it's a good journalist, and it came out.
Why did
and
they do that then? Have you ever had contact with those people?
No. I mean, I don't really know. I said jealousy on Sunday, but I wasn't aiming it at them. I was aiming it at all the aggregators who it didn't need to go as big as it did, but it went as big as it did because there's a lot of aggregators out there who went, and mainstream who went, here we go, let's get in.
They also know they can click, if you put
Yeah.
Mark Goldbridge and you get Manchester United, there's loads of fans who go, oh, he did something wrong.
Truth is, it takes months to get an interview like that. Truth is, we were in Carrington for hours. Truth is, I was walking past other United players smiling at them. Truth is, Rasmus openly walked into the room. Truth is, we already knew a couple of players were a bit uncomfortable with it. Truth is, there's a
Really?
just but not in the way that don't do it. Just a little bit like he's given me a bit of shit in the past. Not everyone in the dressing room gets on anyway. Man United are a big club. They've got a media list. Everyone can see what everybody's doing. TNT, everything like that.
Manchester United let you into the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you were like crept in.
So we did it, and I said, look, there's probably a couple of players that weren't happy with it, but if they'd said to Rasmus, you're not doing it, he would have said, I am doing it.
In April, just a month or so after the Hojlund interview, Alejandro Garnacho was reprimanded by Man United after liking posts on Twitter by Goldbridge in the aftermath of a 2-2 draw with Bournemouth. Garnacho liked a post that claimed that he was thrown under the bus by Ten Hag when he was substituted off at half-time. This obviously had people coming for both Garnacho and Goldbridge, which once again ignited the fake fan allegations. A journalist from the Manchester is Red podcast stated, "You've got some underwhelming kid who has an air of entitlement accusing the Man United manager of lying, and now effectively the player of the season feeling emboldened to like tweets by a YouTuber who doesn't even support Man United." Mark responded to these claims while he was still working for Talksport. In response to this quote, Mark stated, "I know you are full of shit because I factually know the true story about what you have said. So I don't believe anything you have to say anymore because you've blown your credibility because you are rattled. You are rattled about the fact Garnacho interacted with me and he hasn't interacted with you, and you are rattled by the fact Rasmus did an interview with me and you didn't get it." Today, the United Stand is Manchester United's most watched fan channel, and That's Football is arguably one of the biggest live streaming destinations during Premier League games. Mark also reverberates his talents through the football scene, co-hosting the Football Fill-In with ex-Manchester United goalkeeper Mark Foster, which is a multi-camera podcast that essentially talks about the upcoming Premier League fixtures. However, outside of the green screen setup, Mark has also been known to suit up on the touchline from time to time, managing the YouTube All-Stars consisting of iShowSpeed and Noah Beck to a devastating 8-7 loss to the Sidemen in September 2022. Despite the loss, a certain level of aura from the manager was gained. He would return to the dugout the following year, but lost once again, but managed to help raise over £2.4 million for charity in just 2 hours. But this number actually kind of pales in comparison to Mark's personal wealth. In August 2024, the Daily Mail published an article where they republished his company's house records, where it was revealed that Mark's 5 companies had over £4 million in the bank at the end of 2023, up £1.2 million the year before. But ultimately, you can't really hate on Mark for making money in a business. That's what it is at the end of the day. He's found success talking about Manchester United while they've been unsuccessful on the pitch. Like any pundit, he's going to have extremely bad takes from time to time. But I think it's incredible how a bloke sitting in his bedroom in front of a green screen has grafted to produce numbers that rival the mainstream media. Thank you so much for watching this video, it really does mean a lot to me. Make sure to follow me on all of my socials at Phat Network. Like, subscribe, and comment below what you want to see next.